what you're doing. And that quote on your website, it's jazz, it just doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it. Whole tone blues, that solo in that on that thing is just, it's just great. Like you got a great sense of humor in your music, but you also get serious about it too. It's just really, really nice. What can you tell me about this new project and the tour that you're on right now? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, the tour is to support a new album that's coming out March 15th. So I tour a lot with Dave Weckl and Jimmy Hassett. It's a really good combination. We've done it over the years a bunch of times, and it's a really good band. Every time there's an opportunity to do it, we do it. You know what I mean? Like, especially when there's a new record out. We have a month in the U.S. so far. There's going to be some other stuff throughout the year, but I'm not sure yet what it is. I got to wait on it. From Asia and Europe. And, That's that about the tour. In terms of the record, this record, the way I make records is I have to have some kind of concept in order to write. I don't just write. I have to somehow have a concept. So, for example, like the Twisted Blues records, I wanted to make those kind of blues records and mix jazz into it, jazz harmony. So I took all those like blues forms and mixed jazz harmony into that.
Right.
I did my last studio album, Who Gives a Funk. That was basically an R&B meets kind of soul kind of music, and I tried to write really simple, catchy melodies, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's the concept for the new album. I really like to play boogaloo, like those boogaloo grooves. There's really cool kind of boogaloo. I do a lot of organ trios, and I was playing a bunch of that music, and I was like, let me write some stuff in that style. So I wrote some stuff. That was kind of the idea behind it, and then it's basically a mix of boogaloo meet Bitches Brew, like Miles Davis, Electric Bitches. That's really what it is for me, because I like that era, Yeah. So that's what's behind the idea of the record. And then once I had that kind of concept, it's much easier for me to write.
You got two of my favorite bands on there, too. You got the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Yeah, the Beatles and the Beach Boys, you're right.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love what you're doing with the Beach Boys tune.
God only know, thank you.
No, that's
a great song of all time, maybe.
It's a great melody, and you're just killing it. I mean, it's really, you're using a lot of obviously very clean tone in there. Was that the Telly or is that the Strat you're playing?
The Strat.
That's the Strat.
Yeah.
It sounds awesome. It really does. And 8 days a week. Who's the singer? I'm sorry, I tried to figure that out.
Will Lee. Will is playing. Will Lee.
Willie is singing it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, Will's a great singer.
I had no idea. I'm going. I didn't know who was singing it. I was going, man, that's freaking awesome. You got a lot of instrumentation on the new record, and you're going out with the trio. Are you going to do a lot of tunes from the new record on the show?
I will do some. Yeah, I kind of have to mix old ones with new ones, but yes, it's a little tricky because the tunes that have a lot of instrumentation, sometimes they work with playing a trio, sometimes they don't. I do some of that stuff, yeah.
This is a Jazz Guitar Today magazine, so people are going to want to know about your guitars and your gear and all that kind of stuff. Are you primarily playing a Telly and a Strat now? Is that what you're doing, or is it mostly the Strat?
When I go on tour, when I can only bring one guitar, it's always a Strat.
Right.
If I can bring two guitars, it'll be a Strat and a Telly. Mm-hmm. On this last record and the record before, I've been using a bunch of Les Paul also. So It's basically, I would say the order is Strat, Telly, Les Paul.
All right. What can you tell me about the Strat that you have? Is the particular year model, anything fancy about it? Anything?
Well, the ones that I've been using forever are these two 68 custom shop that the Fender custom shop made for me.
Right.
One's a rosewood and one is a maple. Right. And those have been my main Strats for, 10 years now. I have a new one that it was just like a kind of a lucky, I don't know how it happened, but I went to Sam Ash in New York, and I always, when I go to those stores, I try to check custom shop Strats, because you never know, sometimes you get a good one.
Yeah.
And I found a really, really good one. It's a 58 Relic custom shop.
Right.
And fantastic. So that's what I've been playing for the last 4 months or something.
Very cool. It sounds great, the things that I'm hearing. What about pedals, man? You got it. You got a lot of things going on with pedals. Tell me about what pedals you like, you use.
I have a lot of pedals, and a lot of people think that it's kind of like, you have to have a lot of pedals to get a good, to get all this variety of tones and stuff. But the reality is my sound is pretty basic. My sound is really It's a clean guitar with, I haven't even used reverb still lately. So let's say a little bit of reverb, slap delay, and a cranked amp with some kind of overdrive. It's not that much. The reason I have all these pedals is because I use a lot of different textures when I play live, especially with the trio setting. It really helps the music, the composition, you know what I mean? Like when you suddenly put an effect here, effect there, like things like that. It just kind of colors the music, I've
watched a bunch of your YouTubes when you're playing live.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you seem to use the pedals a lot more live than you do on recordings. I'm hearing exactly what you're saying.
I use it the same way. It may be a little more upfront when you hear it live because it's more exposed, but I use whatever I do live, I do in the studio.
Yeah.
I don't I play live in the studio too. I don't do overdubs or anything like that. I treat my records like jazz records.
Yep.
So that's the idea. The main, I go into a wah-wah, like a Vox wah-wah, Oxbow studio-wise. It's got to make those Vox sound like an old one. And then I have an Octavia. I have the Vemuram Oz fuzz. It's like my signature fuzz that Vemura made for me. And then I have exotic RCAC. Exotic made me a signature pedal too. It's called RCAC.
Yeah, sure.
ACRC.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then I have a tube screamer, and that's pretty much it. That's like the main sound. And from there, I have a Univibe, I have a Leslie sound pedal kind of sound. Those are like the more effecty kind of stuff.
Right.
And then a tremolo, and then from there, I just go to some delays or reverb and stuff like that.
Well, the cool thing is that it's always a guitar. It never sounds weird. It never sounds overprocessed or anything like that. It's just got that big fat ass tone, and I love it.
I try.
Yeah, well, you don't really try. You nail it, man. It's great. What about your amps? What amps do you prefer?
I use Tool Rocks mainly. It's mainly Tool Rocks and old Marshalls. That's pretty much it.
Well, you can't go wrong with either one of those two.
Yeah.
The Two Rock, I've had a couple of them, and I've loved them. I mean, they're just great. Old Marshalls.
I have some old Fenders here and stuff, but the main one that I use is a Two Rock.
You're obviously, a jazz player with a lot of language, is what people like to say, about jazz. But he knows a lot of language. This guy knows all the language.
Yeah.
Did you study this formally or informally, or can you tell me about that a little bit, and maybe and then add a little bit about your philosophy and how you approach stuff?
Well, I grew up in Israel, so when I started to get into jazz, I was more into like the fancier version of it, like McLaughlin, Aldim Yola, Shikari, like it was the 80s too. So the fusion era was pretty big, like Holtzworth, all that kind of stuff. So that's what grabbed me, Pep Metheny, Schofield, all that kind of stuff. That's what really grabbed me. But then I went to a teacher. I always studied with private teachers. So I went to a teacher and he said, okay, if you want to play that, let me teach you the basics of jazz. I was like, okay, great. So he taught me kind of the basic theory behind everything. And then it was still not quite enough because I was trying to sound like, I don't know, like Pep Metheny or Scott Henderson, those guys. And it just didn't work out that well. So I was lucky enough, there was a teacher in Israel that I met that was one of Barry Harris' disciples. You know who Barry Harris is?
Sure,
so he taught me the Barry Harris system, which is, it's kind of, you can call it like how to study bebop,
Right.
So he taught me into bebop, and that's what kind of my real formal training, like how I got into jazz properly was through bebop, so I was into Charlie Parker and all that kind of stuff, and, I was a Wes Montgomery clone. I was playing with a thumb, the whole thing. So I was deeply into bebop. That's what I studied for a long time when I was growing up,
A friend of mine told me that. He asked me to ask you about that. He said, I remember, Oz was like a Wes clone, he had it nailed down. He said,
I was, absolutely. When I lived in Israel, I even have the band that we played all Wes Montgomery music,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't find that. I tried to find it, but...
No, it's so early. There was no YouTube or anything. It was in the 80s.
Yeah, well, that's what this guy told me. He said, ask him about his West days. And I said, I definitely will, because he said he's supposed to be a monster on the whole West thing.
Well, I used to be able to put there was a bunch of Wes Montgomery records. I used to be able to put the record on and play with the record, all the solos, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and with the thumb, not with a pick.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's no small task.
No, but at the time I was growing up, I had the time to do it. But the other thing, if you ask me for my opinion about it, if you want to play jazz or anything that has to do with jazz, you have to learn the jazz language, which is kind of basically bebop,
Yeah.
So, and I think if you don't learn it, it's like I never heard anybody that sounds good that doesn't know the language. You can't you can't fake it. It has to really be there.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. It's you can tell the guys that you can tell in an instant the guys that know what's going on, the guys that are trying to make it sound like they know what's going on.
I'm saying that's kind of my history with jazz, and at the same time, in the 80s, I was really into heavy metal, so heavy, like shredding and stuff.
Right.
So I was kind of, one hand I was playing bebop, and the other hand I was playing like shred. It's really weird. So it was very schizophrenic. But then at some point I got into blues, like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix, and that was the other thing that eventually I started to kind of get deep into. So my playing is really pretty much a mix of bebop and blues.
That's what's so cool about it. I mean, this magazine that I started with Joe and Raul and Valerie, it's all about jazz is more than just the old school. It's the new school, and it's not the instrument you play. You don't have to have a 3.5 inch thick arch top, It's Stratocasters and Telecasters and pedals. It's a language. It's a frame of mind. It's not it's not all bebop. But the thing that I will say, I mean, that's what's so cool about your playing is it's like you hear all those elements.
Yeah.
You hear all those elements and what you're doing and the things that your solos and all that. You go, oh man, oh yeah. I mean, it's just it's so fresh, And I know you've been around, for a while, so you're not a new guy on the block or anything, but when I hear your stuff, I just go, oh man, yeah, that's it. And the feels and everything that you're into, are it's easy to get there. Everything's got a groove, everything's got a snap. It's really nice. Is there something out there that you go, man, I want to play with the Boston Symphony or anything like that? Is there some like someday I want to do this kind of thing?
Symphony. Sure, I want to play with the Boston Symphony.
Is there?
Yeah, there's tons of stuff that I've never done. It's like I can't even start. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a big question.
And any of the giants, I never really played with any of the jazz giants. Like I had Chick Corea on one of my records, but I never really played with him. It's like any of those guys, like Herbie, Chick. I don't know. Wayne is not in good shape. Went shorter.
Yeah.
Miles is dead. Any of those guys I like to play with.
If people are coming to your show, you're going to be 3 nights at the Velvet Note. That's 6 shows there. They do 2 shows a night.
Yeah.
6 sets. People that may not know your music or know who you are, but there are a lot of people in Atlanta that just go. They go to all kinds of stuff. What do you want people to take away from your performances? What do you want them to feel when they're there and when they leave? And how do you want to impress the people that I say impress not as in being impressive,
yeah.
but I mean,
I think if somebody gets out of there happy and enjoyed himself, that's like the most important thing. However he grabbed the music. I don't have any deep messages or anything. I just like to play and try to play good music and have people listen to it, have a good time,
Well, that's easy to do, man, because you got the groove thing going.
So that's a part of the deal. It's like I remember years ago, I don't, people, I guess you consider my music as fusion, but fusion has kind of a bad reputation.
Fusion's a noun all of its own,
Yeah, but I don't really think about what I do as that typical fusion. I remember years ago when I was starting to do my thing, I remember this drummer from New York. It was like more an R&B guy. I was like, I don't really like fusion, but I really like what you do. It's really fun, Right. So I think like people that are into jazz, it's easy for them to enjoy this because it's got so much different things in one. It's got the R&B grooves, rock grooves, swing grooves. It's got kind of everything in once,
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. You get these all-star casts on your records. I mean, between Eric Johnson, Robin Ford, obviously the guys in New York, Will Lee, and all these guys, and Weckel, and I know that you guys are real tight, and Vinny, and that whole crowd. Some people will go, how do you attract those guys, or how do you, what are you thinking of when, like a Robin Ford or a Chick Corea or something like that? How do you feel about these guys when they come and they guest on your records? I mean,
well, there's a difference between a guest appearance and the actual guys that play on the record, like the rhythm sections. Right. The rhythm sections that I play with, I have to either play them with them I have to kind of know them and know what I'm getting, and usually play with them for a while. So, like Will Lee, I've done like 1,000 gigs with. James Genus, I've done 1,000 gigs with. Dave Weckl, I've done like 1,000 gigs with, Steve Ferroni, that's on the new record, I've done a bunch of playing with him, and we're really good friends and stuff, so I knew what I'm getting. Vinny Colaiuta, I played with him on and off over the years, so the guys that I call are guys that I know exactly what I'm going to get. I know they're going to fit certain tunes of mine really well,
Right.
And the thing that's really important for me is actually to make sure that I get the right combination. Like, like Vinny and Patitucci, they used to have a band together, to play a lot together, and I played with John a bunch, so I knew that's going to work out.
Yeah.
Steve Ferroni and Will, they have a huge history, and we played together, so I knew what I'm going to get there.
Right.
Me and Dave and James Genus, we toured a bunch, so I knew exactly what I'm getting. I don't call those people out of the air, what I mean? Yeah. I only use guys that I know, that I played with, that I know that they're going to fit, and that I have a connection with,
Sure.
Music connection. So that's about the rhythm section. In terms of the guests, it's different. I don't know, some records I've done, I really wanted to kind of spice it up a little bit. Yeah. So I thought, okay, it'll be cool to have another guitar solo here. Who would be, like when Robin played on this one song, it was like the groove was kind of like an Albert Collins kind of 70s groove. And I called Robin, I was like, hey man, I got this thing. And he goes like, oh man, I love those grooves. He goes, yeah, send it, So it's that kind of stuff. With Chick, I just had that Roomba, and I thought, who can play piano on it that will really be cool, And there was a bunch of records that I've done that Alan Toussaint play on, and it was the same thing. It's all the same kind of idea, I'm looking for like the right extra spice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what it is.
That's a great answer. I got a couple of questions from some guys that play. One of them wanted to know, have you done a lot of transcribing in your time? Sounds like you have.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, I figured if you've done all those West things and all that, you've done a lot of transcribing.
West, yeah.
When you came over from Israel, was it 96, I think it was?
Yes.
How did you find it breaking into the scene in New York? I have people ask me to ask you that.
It's hard, you know what I mean? But when you do it at a certain age, you don't really feel it. You're just there for the music and to learn and to get into so you just hang out. And it takes years for it to happen, and eventually you get what you get. You know what I mean? Like you get in, and
yeah, I mean,
does something different. I end up making solo albums aside of doing sideman work.
Sure.
Some people only do sideman stuff. Some people only do solo. I don't know. It's not. You can't really plan it. It's like one of those things. You just kind of everybody's got their own path. You know what I mean? Like when I moved to New York, I had a bunch of really good friends from Israel that were already here for a couple of years, and they already started to get established.
Right.
And with the fact that they were good friends of mine, none of them really helped me out. Like the way I made my own way was kind of by myself. You know what I mean?
Well, the pathway to and from New York with a lot of musicians is well worn. Guys come up there, and for one reason or another, they decide to go back home.
Yeah, well, you know what happened now is more than ever, unfortunately. What happened is, living in New York is a certain lifestyle,
right. And
it's expensive. And these days, it's really, really expensive, and there's a lot less work than there used to be because of the whole industry, the way the business is now. So you pay a lot of dues, and at some point, once you start to get like, okay, this is kind of what it is, then a lot of people think, okay, is this what I want in my life? Do I want to live in a tiny little apartment in Brooklyn and play some jazz gigs and I'm happy, or do I want to live a better life somewhere else and maybe not play with the greatest musicians in the world? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So eventually it's it's a decision that some of it has nothing to do with music, you know?
Right. Lifestyle.
It's more like a lifestyle. Some people just want to be next to their families too, you know?
No, I totally get it. Yeah, do you have any particular warm-up or practice routine that you follow?
No.
Just pick it up when you feel like playing it.
Yeah. Like, I write exercises all the time that I want to do, but I get busy or I get distracted, so it's very hard for me to get into a regimen, like a routine. But let's put it like that. I don't have warm-up exercise. If I have to do a gig or whatever, I just hold the guitar and noodle. That's really that's what it is, you know.
I understand that one. I understand that one really, really well. You know, is there anything that you'd like people to know about you or your music that no one ever asks?
Good question.
I always ask this question. It's my signature question, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important for people to know my history because, you know, the fact that I came from playing bebop. And, you know, I am a jazz player. I do jazz gigs in New York. I just never released a proper jazz record yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
I almost did one time because I used to do this trio with Patitucci and Jeff Watts, and it was cool. And I almost recorded and I chickened out. So, but I want to do that at some point.
You know, I think it would be really cool if you did it. And
I will.
I really do. I think it because you know, a lot of guys come from the other direction. Yeah. I think that you got the whole. You know, here's what I'm trying to say. So many guys record those records and they don't bring anything new to it.
Yes.
You know, it's just it's their version of 4-on-6 or it's their whatever it is. You know.
Yeah.
But there's nothing where you go. I mean, a lot of guys have played those tunes. A lot of guys have played them very, very competently. Yeah. But they don't have that extra special spark, you know, that extra special, I want to convey something to you when you listen to my music. And you got that in big time. You know, you really do. I tell people all the time, you know, what are you here for? Are you here to show off? Are you here to display your talent? Are you here to communicate with other people? Or are you here just to have fun?
Yeah.
And some guys are a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little of the other thing. But the thing that I hear in your music, your recorded music, and what I've seen of you on YouTube, and I'm looking forward to seeing, is you're really communicating with people on a very deep level from yourself to your audience, whether it's recorded or not.
Yeah.
And I think that you could do a jazz record and bring something new to the party, and I think it would be really, really cool if you did that.
I've been working on it. That's the little secret. That was actually I've been working on it for a really long time. I just haven't, and I can do 2 jazz records tomorrow.
I bet you could, yeah.
Like easily, and I've been working on it, and people that come to New York, if they go and see me play at the 55 bar, they see me do it. Yeah. But I just haven't had the chance yet to actually go and record a jazz record. But I have a concept for it. I have it's a very specific thing. There's actually a bunch of stuff on YouTube. If you just put my name with like the 55 bar, you see a bunch of my stuff with Jeff Watts and John Patitucci and David Kikorsky. There's a bunch of stuff, me playing like If I Were a Bell or Solar or stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of those things on YouTube, you know. I just haven't had the chance yet to do a record like that. I will though.
Yeah, well, I think people would dig it.
Another thing I wanted to add.
Yeah.
About the new record, I think it's important. So another hidden story about this new record is when I went to record this record, I went in and recorded. We recorded at Sweetwater. I started to record. I did 3 different recording sessions, and when I was done, I thought of making a long record, and then it was too long, and then I thought, okay, so I'll make like a double album.
Right.
Then the guy from my record company kind of convinced me to just do 2 records. So this new record, the Boogaloogaloo, that's pretty much volume 1.
I've heard it. I have a copy of it.
Yeah, so that's volume 1, and there's another record that is already like 70% recorded that will be released next year of the other part of the music that was already recorded. So this record is only a part of 2 pieces, really, you know.
Listen, I dig a chocolate souffle.
Chocolate souffle.
I love it, man. It's so fresh. It's so hip. It's so, you know. I mean, it's really hard in this day and age I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt. Okay, I'm just telling you the way I feel it.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find your own voice in an area where a sea of people screaming, you know.
Yeah.
And you managed to do that. And I listen to these tunes and I'm going, shit. You know, it's really, really cool what you're doing. But I love Chocolate Souffle. I thought it was great. And
that's maybe my favorite. I always try to write songs with hooks. And once every record, I get lucky once or twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Good hook. But Chocolate Souffle is probably my best hook ever.
Well, I dug it right away, man. I did. I said, all right. I see what's going on here.
You know when I wrote it?
No, I don't actually. But
when I moved to New York in '96, I moved to New York in the summer of '96. It's August.
Yeah.
In September and October, I moved from friends of mine apartments. So I stayed at the East Village.
Yeah.
Before I got into my place. And one day I was sitting in my friend's place. His name is Daniel Friedman, really good jazz drummer. Yeah. I was sitting in his living room and he had a classical guitar. And I suddenly started playing that riff, that line, you know, that melody. It was in '96. That hook was sitting around since '96. And then I wrote a tune. I think I called it Minor Shuffle or something. And I wrote a tune, and it was similar to this, but not really, but not quite. And actually, even recorded it in a couple of demos. And there was one band that I used to have with Adam Nussbaum and Seamus Blake and Jay Anderson. So we recorded it. But then I always had this song, and I always thought it was really strong. So what happened is on this record, I took the song and I rewrote it. So I wrote a bridge and a C section, and I changed some stuff. And that's what you hear now. But that song's been around since '96.
No, it's really, really cool. And you know what is interesting that I hear you say over and over again, and you don't hear a lot of jazz guys say this. I wrote this song, I wrote that song, I wrote this piece, I wrote that piece. I mean, you know, you're composing a lot of stuff, and a lot of guys, you know, you don't hear them talk about that kind of thing. And I guess that's where your voice is coming from. You know what I'm saying? I guess the last question I have, it's one that you've already kind of answered, is, you know, what's giving you your voice these days? What, you know, emotionally and physically, and just what is there something that just like, you know, that's charging and firing up your creative voice and spirit these days?
I think what I'm trying to do is, when I'm not making records, I always have projects in my head, you know, because I play live here, so I always have things, you know, that I want to. But I try to listen to as much music as I can, as much diverse music as I can. I love pop music. I love like top 20 hits, you know. I love that stuff. So listen to that. I listen to any type of anything. I listen to new jazz to see what's up. I listen to blues. I listen to everything. So that's what keeps me inspired.
Very cool.
The thing that I like the most is good songwriting. So I really love good songs. But when it comes to, like, let's say if I decide to make a record in a certain direction or something, then I'll start more focusing on that kind of direction I'm going for. I don't know. For example, like, again, when I said there's two records, the Boogaloo is going to be another part of it. Mm-hmm. So there was a couple of tunes on the next album that actually I wrote over Joe Henderson songs. So you know what I mean? So I get into, like, I don't know, Joe Henderson, Herbie. Like, I get into that stuff and I try to get things out of that inspires me, you know?
Right.
So that's pretty much it. But for me, it has to have a reason, you know? Like, otherwise, I'll listen to stuff, it'll just be in the air. I don't know what it does to my brain, you know?
Yeah, the other thing that's really cool about listening to your playing, and everybody aspires to it, but you don't waste any notes. You know?
I think I waste some notes, but...
Well, your phrases and shit, I mean, it's
I try not to.
You got a full sentence in your head when you start playing, you know? You got a point A to point B, and you get, you know, there's not a waste... You just get the feeling like you're telling me something, you know, and I'd really dig that. Well, I'll see you in a couple of weeks or a week and a half or whatever it is. I'll be there, and I look forward to meeting you and shaking your hand in person. And man, this is so great that we did this. I appreciate it. The new record is killer. I mean, congrats on that. Went through it and listened to it, and I just really like what you're doing, man. It's just great. I'm going to say thank you.
All right.
I appreciate it.